Hey guys, welcome back, and today we'll be talking about the Russian general that killed 200 of his soldiers. Now, the general didn't actually kill them, right? He didn't get a gun and pull the trigger. However, what he did do was, in a height of arrogance and stupidity, order them to come along for a little speech, where he'd give them a boost of morale and he'd tell them how well they're going. As in true Russian fashion, of course, he didn't turn up for 2 hours, which gave the Ukrainians plenty of time to send a drone over, find these 200 soldiers, fire off HIMARS missiles, and blow them up. Now, this has come as a massive hit for pretty much everyone. The Russian side of things are very angry. In fact, there's lots of Russian sources that are calling for this guy to be executed by the firing squad. On the other side, you've got Ukrainians, which are just... they're happy because, well, look at this, 200 less soldiers they have to deal with. And this is a big problem we have to understand. This is combined with the recent destruction of 5 artillery systems, several T-80s, as well as various other assets. This is going to very drastically affect the Russian defense. And because ultimately these are soldiers that should be filling in the gaps. This trench line here is losing, you lose, the front trench line, right? These are the soldiers that will move in to protect the retreat. This force here is getting advanced, needs reinforcements. These soldiers will come in and resupply. Now, whilst 200 soldiers isn't a massive number on paper in comparison to the overall force of the Russian military in Ukraine at the moment, you got to understand that at the end of the day, it is significant. You see, this is 200 soldiers that now have to be reallocated from somewhere else. And that's going to be really brutal, and that's going to be really tough for the Russians. They're going to have to now bring in more soldiers, which wastes a lot of assets. It takes fuel, it takes trucks out of the way, it takes armoured vehicles. And depending on how well trained these soldiers are, this could be really, really bad for Russia. You see, this means now that this base or area that normally would have had 200 soldiers there doesn't. And this means that the Ukrainians will have a significantly easier job in this region, depending on how far away from the front lines it is. And with all these other various losses of armoured vehicles and, just destroyed equipment, it's not positive for Russia. You see, Russia now has to make up for this. They don't just have to now make up for several destroyed T-80s or the 5 destroyed artillery systems, but now they've got to make up for the many killed soldiers. Again, the estimates are around 200 or so. Like, that's not good for Russia in any way, shape, or form. And this is the huge issue. It's that realistically, now Russia has to reallocate these troops. They have to reallocate resources to make up for these losses. And that can weaken other points in the defensive line. You draw these troops from Crimea, that means you're weakening that area. You draw these troops from the north in Ukraine, well, that's going to weaken up there. Because 200 soldiers, whilst I said it's not a crazy number, it isn't insignificant either. It's a lot of soldiers for Russia, and that's a lot of people that have to now get redeployed, re-equipped, and potentially retrained. Again, these could, although I would like to make clear that these guys could just be regular recruits from Russia with basically no training. However, from what we've seen so far of the Ukrainian offensives in the trenches and that, is that the Russian soldiers here are really well trained, they're really well equipped. And this is something I'd like to quickly address. It's that when we discuss Ukraine doing these counteroffensives on the trench and they take pretty reasonable losses, the big thing that you have to understand is that a lot of these troops that they're fighting against aren't the average Russian conscripts. Many of these troops are well trained and heavily equipped. And that's the big thing we have to understand here. It's that this counteroffensive isn't coming up across the weak, untrained troops that normally would be, that have been the face of Russia for the last few years now. It's realistically, these are elite units that are heavily trained, well equipped, and they got lots of weapons, and they know how to use them. And that really comes around to this point that these soldiers, if they're well trained, that's almost irreplaceable. You can't replace that skill, you can't replace that training. And that's why it's such a huge blow for Russia. But yeah, that's it for now. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel. and I'll catch you on the next one. Thank you very much. Bye.